This video is on factoring trinomials with coefficients of 1. A trinomial in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c can be factored into two binomials. If a, that is the coefficient of x squared, is equal to 1, then we need to find two numbers whose product is c, the constant term at the end, and whose sum is b, the coefficient of x. Then these two numbers go into the parentheses with x. Let's take a look at a couple examples here. It says factor each trinomial. So we have x squared plus 8x plus 15. Notice that a, which is the coefficient of x squared, is 1, b, the coefficient of x, is 8, and c, the constant term, is 15. So I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to 15, and then the same two numbers have to add up to 8. Some of you may have seen this done before with like a box or perhaps with an X, or I like to do it like this. However you need to graphically display that you need two numbers that whose product is 15 and whose sum is 8. Do it whatever way is most comfortable for you. So looking at this, I realize that these numbers are 3 and 5, and that does work in both of those equations. So those numbers become the number after x in each of the binomials, a positive 3 and a positive 5. So x squared plus 8x plus 15 factors into x plus 3 times x plus 5. Let's take a look at our second example here, x squared minus 2x minus 8. So I'm going to be looking for two numbers that multiply to negative 8. And then the same two numbers have to add up to negative 2. So I'm thinking the first two numbers that pop into my mind are 4 and 2, because 4 times 2 is 8 and 4 minus 2 is 2. So I'm going to go ahead and write 4 and 2 in here. And I realize that one of those has to be negative in order for it to multiply to a negative 8. So either my 4 can be negative or my 2 can be negative, but one of them has to be negative. But now in order to make my second equation true, my 4 is going to have to be negative. So the two numbers I'm going to use are negative 4 and a positive 2. So this trinomial factors into x minus 4 times x plus 2. So here are a few practice problems I'd like you to try on your own. I think there's just two of them here. Okay, so stop the video and do these two in your math journal. Okay, let's take a look at these problems. Here I have x squared minus 10x plus 21. So I'm going to be looking for two numbers whose product is 21 and whose sum is negative 10. Well, the first numbers I think of are 3 and 7. So my first equation is true, 3 times 7 is 21, but 3 plus 7 is not negative 10. But I do realize that I can make both of these negative, and both of my equations are still true. So this is going to factor into the binomials x minus 3 times x minus 7. And remember that when you're writing two things that are multiplied by each other, the order doesn't really matter because multiplication is commutative. So I could have written x minus 7 times x minus 3. And our second example here is x squared plus 2x minus 24. So I need two numbers whose product is negative 24 and whose sum is 2. So I'm thinking maybe 6 and 4. Okay, so one of them is going to have to be negative to get a negative 24, and then I need for a 6 and a 4 to give me a positive 2, so my 4 is going to have to be negative. So the two numbers I'm looking for are a positive 6 and a negative 4, so that's going to give me x plus 6 times x minus 4. So in this video, we took a look at how to factor trinomials in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c into two binomials.